Everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the Franchise Happy Hour, the podcast where we're sipping on wisdom, clinging glasses to success, and toasting to some incredible world of franchising. I'm your host, Dylan DeGroat. Today, I got a really special treat for you, Mr. Ross Robertson, a franchise advisor and with Franchise Sidekick and an entrepreneur himself. So joining us, he's going to kick off this little franchise-filled journey we got. Ross brings a wealth of knowledge, experience, insight, and maybe even some behind-the-scenes stories about the world of franchising. So grab your favorite beverage, whether it's a cold brew, a glass of wine, or just a good old cup of coffee, and get ready to dive deep into the world of franchising with us. Ross, welcome to the Franchise Happy Hour.
Dylan, brother, thank you for having me. Look forward to this discussion. I love talking all things franchise and business. We talk a lot about this on the side, but it's nice to bring it to a podcast format. So I'm happy to be here, brother. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure. So fantastic. Whether you're a seasoned franchise pro, an aspiring franchisee, or simply someone who's curious about finding out some secrets to the franchise success, you're in the right place. So let's start the Franchise Happy Hour. All right, Ross. So we'll kick it off here. Just let's talk about your journey into the world of franchising. How'd you become an advisor? I know you're an entrepreneur yourself, so you could talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, man. My trip into franchising has a lot of twists and turns and roundabouts, needless to say. But I grew up in franchising. My father was a franchisee way back in 1977 when he opened his first restaurant as a franchisee. And then he bought another food franchise in the 90s. And it was just ingrained in me from really the time I was a young child that, hey, if you want to do something and you want to accomplish something, it's sometimes better to do it yourself. And, he owned those businesses and for multiple years, actually just exited out of it was a franchise and became a family-owned business when the franchise went under. So he ended up buying the location and keeping it. It was a local restaurant here in Missouri where I live.
Wow.
And my brother bought it a few years ago. So he was in that for 40 years, working for himself. And my grandfather before that was an owner of a franchise in the hardware space and did that for several years. So growing up, I was told one thing specifically, hey, owning a business is how you control what you do every single day. And we talk about living life on your own terms, has a lot to do with that. But my dad also told me, do not get into the restaurant business for whatever you do, which is funny because my older brother went out and bought, he owns 4 franchises right now. And they're all in the food space. So my older brother was not a great listener. I went in and actually started in corporate America and right out of college, played college baseball for a couple of years at Northwest Missouri State. And then just did what everyone tells you should do. Go to college, get a degree, cut your teeth in business.
Yep.
And I did that. I came out of college and worked in the hard knocks of selling. I was selling small business solutions to business owners, and I loved it. It was a really hard and challenging position, and got promoted, moved into some different pharmaceutical sales roles, and over time built a pretty good foundation in corporate America. But I still had the itch to own a business. Always had that. And I started a company that rented and sold golf simulators while I was still a full-time employee. As a matter of fact, my wife she was 8 months pregnant with our daughter. So this was back in 2010. And I came to her with this crazy idea that this golf simulator space was growing rapidly. I had talked about when I lived in Dallas for a period of time, I had talked about starting my own shop in Dallas where I could put these stalls up and have people play golf all year round, no matter what the weather was outside. And so one day I was reading the Wall Street Journal, and the funniest thing, I found this guy that had a mobile simulator. And I was like, oh, that's
Okay.
cool. A mobile simulator.
That's
That'll be kind
different.
of neat. Yeah, it's a bit different. I can now take this to golf courses,
Mm-hmm.
and during winter months, especially in Missouri where I live now, members are paying 10, 20, $30,000 a year to be a member of this club. They're not giving anything back during these cold months because there's nothing
Mm-hmm.
going on. So I started doing golf tournaments and renting this simulator out all over Kansas City. And
Wow.
then by doing that, I got connected to all these trade shows that were in Indianapolis, Louisville, Dallas, Kansas City, St. Louis, Omaha. And I started going, my wife and I started going to all these golf shows all over the country. And
Nice.
so from there, we started then getting business to sell simulators. So we started selling golf simulators, and we did this right up until my son was born in, he was born in 2014. So about 2000 and I think 17, we finally
Mm-hmm.
said, two kids, I'm on a plane every week. I was a regional director for a large medical distribution company at the time. And we finally said, you know what, let's fold up shop, focus on the careers, and we'll get back to the business ownership piece at some point.
Yeah.
So fast forward now, that's like, a few years later, we had this crazy thing that happened. The pandemic, COVID came about.
Yeah.
And so again, like I'd invested in some of the concepts with some friends. And so I was in and around franchising, a lot. But what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to have to build a business from scratch again. So I didn't want to take this
Absolutely.
business that I had been involved in for the last 9 years. I didn't want to take that first 5 years again to build it up, create the website, create the funnel, sell, develop, all those things that really franchising helps you with.
Heck yeah.
I just wanted to kind of start something else, a side hustle, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately get out of corporate America. And we'll get back to that because that's a really big passion point for me, for
Yeah.
my clients. But so I pinged one of my really good friends, a guy I played baseball with in college, a
Mm-hmm.
little known name in franchising, Ryan Zink. And I said, I was texting
Yeah.
him. I looked at some opportunities. And for those of you that don't know, Ryan Zink is the founder of Franchise Sidekick. And Google him, he has a plethora of knowledge and experience in the franchising space. And, obviously near and dear to my heart. He's a really good friend of mine. And we had lost touch for a few years post college, but we started chatting again. And I was texting him about a franchise brand. I wanted to get into the senior care space because I saw that as a growth market, working with hospital CEOs and seeing the demographics coming into hospitals. I thought, man, this would be a great opportunity. So we're
Absolutely.
texting back and forth about some ideas around senior care. And we're looking at the time he was heavily involved with Franchise Fastlane, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously you know very well.
Yep.
We're going back and forth about it. And he said, hey, man, are you happy with what you're doing today? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm looking to get into something so I can get out of this. Why? I have two young kids at home. I
Yeah.
have a beautiful wife that is just busy all day long working with them. I want to be more involved in my kids' lives because they're only around for 18 years, right? So you're like, what do I need to do to get to that point?
Mhm.
So chatting with him, he said, well, hey, have you ever thought about representing clients when they're buying a franchise? And I knew the franchise buying process. I've worked with brokers in the past, right?
Yeah.
And I did have a great experience with brokers, to be honest with you. And not there. And here's the thing about the brokers that I've learned over the years is that there's some that do a great job.
Yep.
And then there's others that treat this like a side hustle because they're busy doing their day jobs. A lot of them are franchisees. And so
Mm-hmm.
you kind of like work with them, and a lot of times they'll work with family and friends. I caught an individual that, I didn't get a great feel for.
Yeah.
It was like I didn't feel that the support. And so I was like, I don't know if that's something I want to do, but I'll learn more.
Mm-hmm.
So he introduces me to Tyler Altenhofen, who is our co-founder of Franchise Sidekick. Um, just a brilliant, brilliant marketing mind. And we sat down and we talked for about 6 months because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, like most of my clients leaving corporate America, that's scary, man.
It's
You have a
tough.
great six-figure salary. You're
Yeah.
working with great individuals. And that's the thing about corporate America. I bash it a lot, not because of who you work with, because there's so many wonderful people out there. Many
Right.
mentors that I have in my life come from the time I spent with these guys in corporate America. And a lot of the things I learned and the successes I've had in this role comes from
Mm-hmm.
those guys. So I
Yeah.
meet Tyler and immediately I'm like, oh man, I love this guy. This guy
Yeah.
he has
He's
a
a good guy.
business sense. He's, very motivational. And Ryan Zink is amazing. So I had these two guys that I'm like, oh my God, they're amazing. They're starting this organization, which will ultimately be called Sidekick.
Yep.
And it's like, do I throw away all this, take a tremendous leap of faith and completely change course? And much like buying a franchise, changing your career, man, having your wife's support. And my wife had seen that I'm unhappy and that I wanted to be at home more and I wanted to be more involved. And so she's like, when she gave me the green light to move over, it was a no-brainer for me to jump over to the organization. And so as I came in, one of my prerequisites was, hey, I don't want to stop looking for a business to own. I want to get back into business ownership. I love doing that for the 10 years that I did it with my golf simulator, my entertainment business. And I, so immediately kind of started looking at some options when I came in. But man, I found out quickly that this industry is very fast paced. It is there, and it's fast paced for a reason, not because we have a bunch of wonderful brands like Joshua Tree that we represent. It's because much like people that were just like me were wanting to do the exact same thing. So they were like, we've got opportunities here. We started kind of figuring out what that looked like and how to manage the client relationship through a lot of different experiences. Right. And man, I tell you what, like, following into that and jumping on now, I'm at 2 years here with Sidekick. Nice. A little over 2 years if you count a lot of the moonlighting I was doing heading into it. Yeah. And I tell you what, man, there's not a more fulfilling type of position that a person can be in. We always want to be in positions to help people, just like Joshua Tree wants to help their clients and service them well. And I hope we get into that because it's a wonderful brand and concept that is starting to really grow, no pun intended, on the franchising space, right? Yeah. But I thought, man, this is kind of neat. What do I want to do? Who do I want to work with? What do I want to hang my hat on? And I found out really quickly, like, there's a lot of guys just like me out there in corporate America. They're making a great salary. And from the outside looking in, they get to travel to all these wonderful places. They get to be in these big boardrooms with these executives. And there's a lot of people think, man, that guy's got it made, or that girl's got it made. They have the life that you want. But it's not true, man. It's a lot of catching flights, late nights home, work and emails that just pile on you. And like every night I'd go to bed and it felt like I had a 500-pound element or 5,000-pound elephant on my chest, right? Yeah. It was just always the stress of waking up, not wanting to go to work, having the Sunday scaries. And come to find out, like, I'm not alone. Yeah. A lot of my clients are exactly like that. And so being able to help navigate a path that I've been down myself with my clients is a huge deal. And these corporate guys, I mean, everybody freaks out because they feel like they can't leave corporate America because that's that security blanket. But like, here's the deal, man. Life is short. There are several franchise concepts out there that can replicate that income that you have, get that time back that you desperately need. Absolutely. And then like those significant moments, I watched my daughter take her first steps on FaceTime, and I thought it was pretty cool at the time because of the technology. Yeah. But looking back on it, that sucks, man. That sucks so bad. It does. And so I kind of like just have this mission over commission vibe, right? I'm doing great, man. I have tons of clients, my business, and we'll talk about probably Bloom and Blinds a little bit about the company that I own here in franchising. Yeah. But I have everything that I need, man. So like living life on your own terms, we talk about this a lot. For me, it wasn't about making $1 million a year. Although, listen, man, they're goals, and that's definitely one of them. Who doesn't want to make $1 million a year? It's not about that. It's about like being present to the right people that need you, man. It's not your boss, because your boss's boss. When you leave corporate America, people will pat you on the back, they'll hug it out. You'll be sad that you're leaving some of your best friends that you've built over the years. But at the end of the day, man, they're going to post your job in a week, and they're going to replace you, and you're going to be forgotten relatively quick. But you know what? Who's not going to forget you? Your family, your friends, those people that are around you that you want to spend time with. So like, I just have this like motto where living life on your own terms is, you want to make money, you want to support your family. That's what we're all about. Like, that's what business is. That's why we're all into it. Right. Yep. But it's so much more to me for my clients, because I see guys that struggle, man. I see that like weight that's on them when I chat with them. And it's not like, hey, like I'm not one of these guys. If you're not ready to buy a franchise today, that's okay, man. That is completely fine. Like, listen, we'll chat about it. I want you to get the bug. I want you to plant the seeds. I want you to start thinking about like a year from now, 2 years from now. I just spoke to one of my really good friends today. He's not ready to do something for 3 years. And he's like, I feel like I'm wasting your time. I'm wasting your time. Like, should I talk to you? And I'm like, dude, listen, you're not wasting my time. This is what I do. Like, I'm planting seeds in you. And like, there's this old adage that like, you spend time with those type of people because you plant the seeds. Why? Because they're going to grow into a strong tree. It's a oak, like Ryan Zink talks about an oak tree. Like when he didn't have a dollar to his name, this financial advisor put some time into him, and he called it like it's an acorn. He's like he's planting an acorn. He's like, well, why are you investing this time in me? He's like, because I see you as an oak tree. Yeah, and that's what I feel about some of my clients is like these guys are oak trees, man. They want it, they have the passion, they just got to carve out the time, right? So it just becomes a priority thing. Like first, your priorities are going to be, I've got to, sorry, I can't make the meeting. I've got to I got to fly out here. I've got to do these things. I can't talk to you today. I can't talk to you the next week. I can't. And then all of a sudden it kind of flips where it's like, hey, I'm going to cancel that meeting that I have because normally in corporate America, it's a meeting about another meeting. And then they say, you know what? I don't need that. I want to focus on this. And when they flip that switch, I don't want it to be like, hey, Ross, I haven't talked to you in 6 months. Like, how's it going? I'm interested again. No, I want them to come back in, and that momentum of now the confidence they built over these conversations, knowing franchising inside and out, and understanding that like that light at the end of the tunnel, you can see it now. It was dark. It's been dark for years, and now you can see it. Now it might not happen in a year, 2 years, 3 years, right? You're gonna develop a plan to get there. So franchising to me, it started there. It's not ended yet. I'm gonna add more brands to my portfolio. I'm gonna build out. But you know what, man? At the end of the day, Dylan, I wake up every day and I choose to do what I do. I choose who I work with. I choose the businesses that I'm in. And having control over that kind of thing, dude, that's what drives me, man. And the clients I work with, the success stories I've seen, I've worked with now, like I think over 5,000 people I've chatted with.
That's incredible.
And dude, I love every single second of it. I caught the bug. And yeah, man, it's not all rainbows and puppy dogs. Owning a business is tough, man. It's tough. And here's a message to those corporate guys that don't get that. The things that they're doing right now have prepared them for this moment. The discipline, the focus, the structure, understanding how to look at a P&L, understanding how to manage people, they're all doing it today. And it's so much harder because they have a boss above them. They have a boss above them, and things just move downhill, man. You know what moves downhill, right?
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of passion behind what I do. And it's not that I always rip on corporate America. I do it a lot on LinkedIn. Quite frankly, I want to, because like half that stuff is just BS, man. People throw stuff out and it's all fodder, man, because I know deep down, there are people that are happy in corporate America. Don't get me wrong. But then you have guys that own businesses that have started their own business and they're like, I want to add something else. But like, man, I just did so much work the last 5 years to get this thing up and running. I'm finally in a good spot. I don't want to go through that again. Where's something else to diversify my portfolio or latch on to what I have today to continue that growth. So franchising is a great supplemental concept too for even these entrepreneurs. And then investors love it because they have management teams. They can come in, find the right markets that they want to be in, and still create a lot of value, a lot of employees in a local community. It just gives back in so many ways. And just very blessed, man. Very blessed to be part of the organization I am. And the path I took, man, I've hit a lot of branches on the way down. But I'm 42 right now. And man, I hope when I talk to you again, when I'm 50 and when I'm 60, I'm still grinding, still doing my thing, because when you enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And I know that's so cliche, dude, but
I got you though.
Like where I am, man, where I am in life, man. I love it. And I'll keep going.
No, I love it, man, dude. What an incredible journey. I mean, starting out, really just kind of reflecting back, it sounds like your dad and your grandfather definitely made a positive impact into you, into your entrepreneurial spirit. when you were younger. So I think that that's just so important to, I think there's so many people out there that have that as well. Maybe their parents weren't franchise owners, but they were business owners. Maybe they were small business owners. And, just like you said, why recreate that wheel? That wheel is already designed, and there are just so many franchise opportunities out there that you're skipping that learning curve, and it's just such an incredible thing, for the little time that I definitely haven't been in franchising quite as long as you, but the time that I've been in this, I've talked to so many incredible people, and you really understand where they're coming from. Just like you talked about, where, there's these individuals, they have that pain, and maybe that pain isn't enough right now for them to make that leap, make that change, but they see it eventually, and I think that that's a really great story, man. I appreciate that. What a way to start this off. I love it, dude. Thank you so much for that. So, as you've been, working in the franchise industry, you said that you definitely got some experience with some memorable stories. Is there like maybe one client or one story that you went through the process with someone, maybe they jumped out, maybe they came back in, that, played a significant role, and ultimately, like, that's a success story now?
Yeah, man. There's so many of these, and I call these my boomerang guys, right? These are guys that they come in and they're timid at first, right? They've met with our specialists, and Sidekick, we have a team here, so nothing is all about me at all, and that's what I love about it, because my team that I surround myself with lift me up, motivate me. Outside of my advisors, I have specialists on the front end, and so I have a lot of these guys that'll come in, and these specialists, Megan, Bobby, and Demetrius. They are really helping lay a foundation for what I can expect. And a lot of time, man, they'll say, hey, timid about doing this, unsure whether or not they want to go forward. They don't know what options. But the fact that they filled out the form and took the step, man, that's enough. Like, sometimes that's enough. Sometimes they won't show up to my first call because they'll kind of go back. Like, I like to call it going back behind the line, right? There are times in your life where you lean up to a line, and when it's like enough's enough, you step over it and you leave, right? And then what happens in corporate America is these guys you'll step up to the line. You're like, I'm out of here. I cannot handle this anymore. These unrealistic expectations. And then they'll have a happy hour, or you'll go to a national sales meeting, or you'll have like a good conversation, and then you toe back to the line. Why? Because like, you're in this comfortable, like, maybe I can do this for a few more years. And so I always think about those guys that come up to the line and then they back off. But then there have been so many, and I could probably list 15 that right at the top of my head that ended up buying from me, that like came back later and were like, okay, enough's enough. Like, I need to move on. And so, like, if you're looking for a story, I think there's a great story, and I think I've told this one before, but he was one of my very first clients, a gentleman out of Delaware, and one of my favorite clients too. Very, very just solid guy, vice president at a company, and just absolutely crushing it. But he's like, God, I've just got this itch. Like, I don't want to be doing this the rest of my life. And he was more like, I want to start a side hustle, and then maybe I'll do something else. And I met with him, and his wife jumped on. And this is a big, big, big deal in franchising. Now, you have these guys that are, their wives and spouses aren't involved in their business, and that is okay. They're probably still great dads, great husbands. And that's like, man, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing better than jumping on a call, and then the wife jumps in, and the wife wants to be involved, because, man, I tell you what, are you married, Dylan?
I am. Yeah. I don't know. My wife actually just came in, fed the dogs.
Yeah. So you would, I mean, you would know this, man. When you want to do something and your wife tells you no, man, it's really hard to go against the grain, right? Because that creates friction in those things. When a wife comes in and she's like, hey, I want you to do this. I want you to do these things. I know you've been talking about it. I want you to follow what you want to do. No different than a husband, same thing with a wife. Hey, I want you, if you want to go back to work, or you want to start and change your career, or you want to get into, like, I want you to be supportive. So when this couple jumps on and they're both engaged, right? And we go down the path and we look at, ended up buying Mosquito Shield. But yeah, solid concept brand.
Absolutely.
Had all the right pieces, right? So they buy this brand. And I come to find out later because he started this business, his company found out that he had started this business. So it created this wedge between him and his leadership team because of the time he was spending and trying to grow his business. He ultimately exited that organization. So now he had this franchise and he was like, oh, now it's got to run and get up and running. And he had a great first season. This season has been fantastic. And what does he do? He comes back and he says, you know what? I think another one of these franchises you have has my name written all over it. I'm ready to invest in another one.
Yeah.
So he invests in another concept that fits the market that he's in. And of course, his wife was like, I'm taking on Mosquito Shield. You're going to run this one. We're going to build this up. He started his own insurance, bought his own book of business for insurance. So now he's like an entrepreneur all around, right?
Yeah.
Super cool story. But like that kind of story, that's almost happening every week with a lot of clients. But that one sticks out because that was one of the first ones when I realized, like, man, did I do this guy a solid by finding him this brand, or did I do him a disservice because now he's super happy. He's actually lost weight, looks amazing.
There you
like
go.
Him and his wife are like, they love it. But there's times like that. And there's also guys that I chat with often. And I preach about corporate America because normally when someone wants to buy a business and they've already owned a business, it's more about like, how does this fit into your schedule? How does this fit into what you're doing today, your current customer base? What's your Rolodex look like? But with these new guys that have never owned a business before, it is so much about like helping them with competitive intelligence, market research, understanding the niche they may have in the market, or understanding what this means to them from a cash flow standpoint, knowing that, hey, you're going to have to probably live a little less luxurious for a period of time to get to this point. But like I always tell them, like, hey, man, it's okay to take one step back if you want to take two forward. That's a really big deal. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stories. But I was just thinking about this the other day. There's not, out of the thousands of clients that I've met with, there are obviously several that stick out. There's several, like right now I could check my text and I probably have 10 texts from different clients that it means, and it's about nothing to relate it to franchises. It's about like my family, their family. It's just this great network of people that I bring in and I hug on a daily basis. And my job, man, it's education. It's motivation. I'm a psychologist. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a funding person. I'm a tax person. All these things that we do, and all of it is just fighting that little fear, that little devil that sits on their shoulder and says, "Oh, you can't be a business owner. You're meant to do this. You can't do this." And it's really just kind of talking them in and giving them the confidence to do it. But it has to be right for them too, because I also make a living out of talking people out of it. And that's okay. I mean, that's actually probably one of the bigger parts that we do is like, we leave it up to guys like you to tell you all the reasons why they should be buying the brand, right? It's our job to make sure that it's the right fit. So we'll poke holes because they need to know it's not all rainbows and puppy dogs on the other side of this. What's the underbelly of it? Because you're going to have to get out of bed every day and you're going to have to grind and do it. But if you're doing the right things, even the bad days feel like they're better than the best days in corporate America. So yeah, man. I mean, listen, oh gosh, there's a lot of really good stories. A lot of guys that like maybe got territories sold out that they couldn't get into. We regrouped, and that's the thing about what we do versus maybe others. And again, I can't speak to other consulting groups. There's so many good consultants out there that I've met. Very good people just like us, but we just have the tools and resources at our disposal to like really help, man. We want to these guys to boomerang back. If we can't find something for you or things don't work out, the beautiful thing about what I've noticed here is that they don't disconnect and go away. Guys that are interested and gals that are interested, they'll boomerang, they'll come back like, hey, Ross, that didn't work out. Let's get back on the calendar. Let's keep digging, keep looking. Because this momentum I've built, I don't want to step back. I think that there's something to it. So yeah, man, it's a very fulfilling gig, and there's lots of fun stories. And I don't know what we want to put out on your very first podcast, but maybe I'll get back on sometime and we'll just chat about fun and interesting events in the franchising world.
No, I love that. I think that's a great story. It just kind of shows, there's a level of intimacy between a franchisor and a franchisee, right? It's almost like a marriage. And I think it's really crucial if your marriage also involves that person, So I have a candidate right now who's going through the process, and man, his wife jumped on and she's just as excited about the opportunity as he is. And
Yeah.
it's like, that just feels good, and we do the same thing. Hey, it's not, not every day is going to be your perfect day. You're going to have issues, but do you have the values to overcome those issues? Can you improve? Can you adapt to those changes? And I love what y'all are doing over there, Franchise Sidekick. I went out to Omaha. For those who don't know, I went out to Omaha and visited. They had a little conference out there, and I was impressed. I love it, man. I love the family feel. You guys have a much better podcast setup than I do. That's for sure. I can't wait to get on that one. That podcast is awesome.
I
But
like
Tyler and
Tyler
and Ryan are they're just incredible people, man. I mean, talk about intelligence in franchising. And it sounds like they've, instilled a lot of that intelligence, and you've instilled it yourself, but with working with them, it's just improved you. And that's just such a good story. I love hearing positive things about other franchisees who have gone through that process and really just came out on the end, and just to show that it is there, you can do it. It's absolutely possible. And I think that that's so cool, man. So definitely a good story. So how about the flip side? Let's change it up a little bit. What was a challenging situation that maybe you encountered and you were like, man, I don't know how I'm going to navigate this one?
Man, oh man. Like in our world, with a lot of fast moving brands like J Tree, Joshua Tree, it's tough. Sometimes it's tough to find territories. And they're open 1 minute, and the next minute they come in and they're pending, they're off the market. You're kind of running and hustling to figure out who's going to buy it, reaching out to you, Dylan, and others to say, hey, like, is this one for sure deal? Can we sneak these guys in? And then it puts undue pressure on the franchisee, which, listen, I'm an advocate for people taking their time to make a decision, right? I'm a big advocate for that. I know a lot of folks that do what I do. The quicker they get through, the quicker I get paid, so on and so forth, which is completely like up to them, right? If the person wants to run, like I tell anybody, if you want to run fast, hey, I can run right along with you, but I'm going to need you to be right here as often as possible. Because like at the end of the day, and our slogan at Franchise Sidekick is, hey, not only live life on your own terms, but our job is to reduce risk in the buying process for you. And that's a really big deal. And so, I mean, I'd say my biggest challenges, they aren't the guys that don't show back up, and they ghost out. We all have the ghosts, that's an easy way to break up, right? People break up with kids nowadays and they just don't text them back, right? And it's super normal for the environment that we're in. So I don't get beat up over those things. I might have if I was younger in my career, because you get a lot of no's, man. You get a lot of no's, but they're not no's. No, Ross, I don't want to work with you. It's like, no, not a good fit, not a good time. Those types of things. So I think like in terms of like a challenging client, man, I've had some guys that very, very early in my tenure, I kind of let them dictate the discussion, right? I would listen a lot, hear them, still provide them with some guidance and feedback, but I let them dictate it because some of these guys had owned many franchises before and done a lot of these things.
Right.
And I think that was one of my biggest challenges early on, was just this whole power dynamic. And this, again, power dynamic doesn't mean that like I'm beating you down and I'm aggressive. It just means like, hey, be confident in what you know, what your background is and what you can provide these clients, right? Because all we're doing is filling in gaps. So, I mean, the most challenging part of the day-to-day is just keeping up with the client list. Man, I'm working with so many clients right now, and that. I mean, there's a lot that we're sharing at the moment, which is a fantastic thing. But it's like, how do I balance? Like, which ones do I spend the most time with? Because I spend a lot of time with these guys that just need some nurturing, need some attention, need to understand like what that motivation is to move forward. And I have guys that kind of run. So I just try to keep a good pace, try to always focus on like every conversation. Did that reduce the risk that they're taking when buying a franchise? And that's so much easier said than done. I mean, it's so much easier to say it than to do it, because like reducing risk, it doesn't mean that you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to be able to get you a franchise and you're going to pay this much. It's an easy entry franchise. No. It has nothing to do with that. It's all the intangibles that you spend in those weeks leading up to them making a decision, going out to confirmation day or discovery day, and not spending that time asking a bunch of questions that should have already been answered, right? My guys need to go out and they have one focus, And that's, you get approved, and then you get approved, and then we decide whether or not we want to make a decision.
Yeah.
So it's trying to prep, a lot of prep work, a lot of preparation around like what to do, what not to do. Because I have tons of stories about confirmation day where, you know, some of my clients didn't present themselves to the best of their ability. And I take those things, man. Those are notches in my belt, right? That I got to get the next guy ready. We're not going to do this again. We're not going to go and make a bad impression because my name's attached to them, your name's attached to them.
Absolutely.
Like it's a really big deal. So challenges, not any huge challenges that I can think of. There have been some intense moments, some great heated, spirited conversations with my brand directors.
There you go.
You know, and a lot of it like is self-reflection where I could have done a better job. And I learned those things, man. 10 years from now, I'm still going to be learning. But if I always put my client's interest first all the time, you know, you'll end up in a pretty good spot.
I think that that's definitely a good point. You know, I love that you hit on something that we actually discuss at Joshua Tree, you know, right person, right seat. When we're talking about employees, we talk a lot about that. You know, there's a right person, they're in the right job. You got wrong person, wrong seat. And then, you know, you can go 4 different ways with that. And, you know, as a business owner, who do you spend most of your time on? It's the wrong person, wrong seat, right? So you're always putting a lot of focus on the individuals who, you know, are maybe not issue causers, but they're just not in the right spot, right? They either don't fit the culture of the company, they don't have those values, but it's something where it turns around too, where those right people, right seats are getting forgotten, right? We're like, oh, they're good, we don't need to help them. But, you know, sometimes they just need some praise. And I think that that can contribute very well to the franchise world, where it's like, you know, if you see someone who's going through the process, they're doing their due diligence, right? You know, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, as a franchisor, we can provide them information, but there's some homework, right? There's a process. You got to learn about this. I can't just inject all of the knowledge that you need to understand this brand, but, you know, just some of that positive influence. Hey, I saw that you had your call with Dylan the other day. That looks great. You know, I love the questions that you asked. It's that positive influence on those really great clients that helps that, you know, kind of push that over and kind of helps them realize, hey, you're doing a good job, right? So I think that that's just something interesting that we do at Joshua Tree that I thought reflected pretty well how you said that. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, brother, you guys, and I'll give my plug to Joshua Tree. You know, obviously the foundational things that you've built as an organization, you and Josh, I mean, salt of the earth type of guys, right? And and you look at founders, like this is things that people don't think about. Like they don't think about the founder, and you're buying an organization that this person built, blood, sweat, and tears. You're working with a person that this person hired as their right-hand person to help develop and find the right clients. Those are such a big deal. Like we don't think about those things. But I tell you, man, the good, like such good vibes, the community give, like the things you guys give back to the community and what you do, that, I mean, that kind of stuff resonates. And that's not lip service, man. You guys live and breathe it. I've met you both. Like oddly enough, I met Josh couple weeks into my franchising, into being a franchise consultant.
Yeah, it's a small world of franchising, right?
I know, man. I tell you, like, but when you know that you have that, it matters. And then like your energy, man, like these kind of relationships matter so much, because you're not all built the same. And I tell a lot of my really good, of my solid relationships I have with a lot of these brand directors, you can resolve a lot of conflict by just having a conversation, not getting heated, not getting crazy about anything other than what's the best interest of the client.
Absolutely.
And that's what I tell my people, like, listen, I don't represent these 60, 70 brands. I don't represent these brands. I have these brands that I can show you. I don't represent the brands. I represent you as a client.
Yeah.
So your best interests are in mine. And when we can work cohesively with a brand and know that the client's getting the best possible service and they're going to have the support they need, that matters so much more than what the brand is. Because like if you get a brand with a founder that's not on the up and up, and we work with a lot of wonderful founders, and I would never call anybody out for anything other than the successes, because we vet the founders out before we bring the brands into our portfolio, because that's an important piece to us, right? But if you get into an area like that, you're almost repeating what you've done in corporate America. Now you're working for
Mhm.
somebody you don't want to be working for. You don't
Yep.
get along with them. You're going to be pushing back. You're going to feel that, even
Yep.
though they're not micromanaging you, but you want to have rapport. You want to feel like you can reach out to them. You want to feel like they have your best interest in mind. And I
Yep.
think like Joshua Tree kind of is the like beacon for those types of things. Good vibes in the franchising space. Lots of people are winning. You know,
Well, I appreciate that.
great numbers, great service, great support. Like we can go into a lot of the details, but like people can find it. If
Yeah.
they find me, we'll find Joshua Tree for sure. But yeah, man, just shout out to you
Yeah.
all for what you're doing and what you're building. You're doing it differently, man. Not everybody's texting me, reaching out, seeing how my day's going, thanking me for the time that they had. Like
Yeah.
those little things like that mean a lot to me, but also tells me a lot more about you all. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you, man. Just want to get
Yeah,
that
I
out.
appreciate that. This is definitely your time, but I do appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah, we're trying. We're out here. We're grinding, man. That's, it's one of those things that, like you said, it's all about that partnership. It's all about when someone comes into confirmation day. I love that you mentioned that, because what we're doing is we're basically saying, just like you said, hey, I want to prepare my franchisees to be approved. Hey, that's exactly, as much as we're approving them, they're approving us, right?
Mhm.
So we're trying to build that relationship, make sure we're comfortable with each other, right? Having conversations just like this, just having fun. Sometimes it's work
Yeah.
hard, play hard. That's one of our core values.
Yeah. I love it,
So
man.
yeah, so we try to do that. But I appreciate you kind of throwing us out there. Definitely appreciate
Yeah,
that,
dude.
man. So you've been with Bloom and Blinds. So talk to me a little bit about that. What was your process into why did you ultimately decide, hey, I'm gonna go with Bloomin'? What was that about?
Oh man, Blue and Blinds. It's such a fun story. So I came to my wife. It's about probably 4 or 5 months before we ended up buying Bloom, and I had a list of different franchises I wanted to chat about.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was thinking about spraying for mosquitoes. I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
about water restoration. And sitting down with my spouse, like my wife Kim, who on her own accord is as talented in the business world as anybody that I've ever seen. Like she's
Yeah.
amazing. And so
Yeah.
she sits down as more of a business partner because we were in business together for 10
Yeah.
years doing the golf simulator piece. And she's like, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So one night, I was actually helping to put a fundraiser together for our local football team.
Okay.
And I was up at the local pizza place here in town, and I'd had my old quarterback coach from high school on one of my podcasts,
Okay.
uh, mighty Ross Tones. If anybody wants to
I
dig up
love that.
some of those ones, so I'd had him on, and I remember him saying like, "Hey, I'm retiring. I'm getting ready to go into." Kind of look for a job, something new. He'd retired from the school system, still a young guy, still, in his early 50s. And he had gone out and worked for a manufacturing plant here locally.
Okay.
And I caught him up there and we grabbed a beer and we were chatting it up a little bit. And I'm like, hey, how do you like it out there? And he's like, I like it. It's a lot of fun and
Yeah.
it's going okay, but I don't know that I'll be out here forever. And so I said, hey man, why don't you swing by? Let's have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a general manager, somebody that I can
Mm-hmm.
trust, that I can work with. We call this a stick person, someone that has all the core values that you can work with them well. You don't have to babysit them and you can pay them well and have them do a job. So I was like, you know what, come over. So we sat down as a group and we just said, hey, let's look at these brands. We watched some videos. I walked them through basically the same type of information I would walk through my clients.
Yeah.
And I said, let's settle on a couple of these that we want to look at. And astoundingly, what we came back with was, Bloomin' and a couple other companies. So what do you do then? Well, instead of saying, hey, I'm ready to buy it, let's move forward.
Yeah.
We started reaching out to local companies that were competitors of the brands that we were looking at.
Smart.
And I couldn't find, and I know this. I look at the shades I have in my house today.
Yeah.
Couldn't get anybody to come out.
Yep.
One didn't call me back for 2 weeks. The other one rescheduled 3 times. I went and talked to several builders and realtors, and I said, who do you use? Nobody. There's nobody around. There's a big need for this. We need something like this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, great. I did all of that before I even had my introduction call with Tom Ryan, who now is vice president over at Fastlane and still covers Bull and Blinds. But I met with Tom and I was like, okay. So we went down that path. But the selling point for me, and again, it wasn't because I'm going to make $1 million a year doing this. God willing that, hey, we get close. Who knows?
Yeah, good.
But it had a lot more to do with like the support I had from my spouse.
Yeah.
The numbers and the financials and a lot of the information they were able to provide. We were able to check that out pretty well.
Yeah.
My general manager got super excited about it. He loves home service. He's a very handy guy.
Yeah.
And, he had that leadership ability that I look for. And so
Yep.
that's advice to people that are out there listening to this, that are thinking about getting into franchising. You don't have to jump on a call with me or jump on a call with Dylan to start doing your homework, man. What does your area need? What is it lacking?
Yep.
Do you need a fence in your backyard? You can't figure it out. You need a limb cut down on a tree in your backyard and you can't find anybody to do it. Those are signs to you that you could be getting into that. Because I didn't have any experience in putting in window treatments. I didn't know a lot about it. I know I had a horrible experience doing that at my own home. And then my family's lake house, same thing. We're trying to get somebody we live close to the Lake of the Ozarks here in Missouri, try to get somebody to put some window treatments in there.
Yeah.
Nobody's around, right? It's like, oh, you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and then you have to order it. Then you don't know what kind of quality you're getting. Then they have to cut it down. Then you have to find somebody to install it. You end up paying the same thing and going through the same process.
Yeah.
So we said, you know what? We're going to start it. Now, the market we live in, it's a rural market. We have some good metropolitan areas, but we have a big area to cover. So we knew it was going to be kind of a big leap. But again, you bake those things into your financial analysis. And so we started Bloomin' about a year ago. It's been 10 months now, and it's going great. We're actively trying to add more employees at the moment. We're growing a great foundation. My stick, I call him my stick, man, but he's my GM. My GM is my dude, man. He's there. He actually just left. I almost had him like sneak in because every day we meet, every day we chat. He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I appreciate his hustle and grind. But it's because I stay connected. So I'm what you would consider like an executive model. Yeah. So for an hour every morning, and hey, man, listen, if you're going to do this and represent early mornings, he's here at 7. We're knocking out the list of things he has going on during the day, making sure that he's filling some gaps in his day, and I'm doing all those things there. And then at the end of the day, we'll kind of spend like 15, 20 minutes, just kind of recapping, making sure he's good, he's set, what's going on. But it's wonderful, man. We can get out and we can network with these referral partners, which is what I try to do a lot of. Try to get out on sales appointments and calls when I can. Yeah. But like, quite frankly, man, like my calendar is chock full every single day at Sidekick with clients. So it's hard to break away. So there's things that I wish I want to spend more time in the business, but you do what you can. You're going to have to hire and grow and scale. But I chose it because the market's set up well. But like, I would be remiss not to call this out. The Sturt brothers, Kelsey, Kevin, and Chris. Yeah. That was a huge deal to me, man. Those guys are family oriented. They make decisions as a team. Man, like anybody, they stumble as they grow, man. Yeah. And these guys have invested so much into the growth of their organization. Yeah. That like it was hard. Like the best days are yet to come for Bloomin' Blinds, and it is growing rapidly across the country. But I chose it because the key people in my life wanted to do that. Yeah. And I knew it was a solid brand. I wouldn't have had it in the portfolio once to look at. So that's man, perfect. I bleed pink. I bleed pink when I'm not wearing the black, right? I love that. Yeah, man, it's a really, really fun brand, and it's been great to meet new faces in my community, service our community, and give back every chance we get, man. And that's a really cool deal. So so far so good. I love it. Yeah. It gives me headaches at times, lose a little more hair from time to time, but you know what? It's a hell of a lot better than being on a plane on a Friday evening flying back from a meeting that went absolutely shitty and I didn't want to be there anyway. Like this is like me living. Like I would, my worst days in what I do today are better than my good days in corporate America. And again, that's not a shot at the people I work with, man. There's some really good people that I admire. I still look up to, still reach out to for advice. For sure. And man, you build the networks along the way, and you just live your life, man. It's a short life. You got to live it.
I love it, man. I mean, that sounds like, I love the executive model. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about franchising. You know, hey, I'm just going to put my money in and I'm not going to do anything. Even if you are that semi-absentee, that executive model, there is a lot of those misconceptions, which, you know, we could go on for like hours about that.
That's a
for
big
sure.
one,
Yeah.
That's a big one for sure.
But hey, you know, as we're wrapping up here, you know, I wanted to, before we get into the surprise event, kind of like little thing I like to do, a little bit I'm going to do. Is there any, you know, nuggets of wisdom that if any of the listeners right now are kind of wondering, hey, maybe this is something I could get into, any nugget of wisdom that you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, I'd say take daily inventory of take daily inventory of the things that God, I get emotional, man. I'm a crier. Sorry, I don't mean to be like that. I try not to. But take inventory of the most important things in your life.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing something that impacts those things every day,
Yeah.
then what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So, and that could mean a number of things, but like I make a list. Like I have a word of the year.
There you go.
And yeah, I mean, this may be kind of hard to see. I'll put it there. But my word this year is give.
Yeah.
In 2023, it was give.
Yeah, I like
and,
that.
You know, I found myself in like previous years just not giving into things I wanted to. And giving means like it's not giving gifts and presents and things, those things like, yeah, those are things you should be doing for the loved one, the ones you love, to show your appreciation.
Yeah.
But it's like giving more time.
Yeah.
Giving more effort, giving back to the community. Just stop giving things to things that don't matter to you. Yeah. And you know, man, listen, I like to hang out and do things with my buddies all the time. And you know, those are things that are important, but like, just if you're wanting to do something in your life, like don't wait till next week, don't wait till next year. And it doesn't mean you have to go out and buy something tomorrow.
Yeah.
But take the first step. Like this this story that I heard, and this resonates with me more than anything that I've ever heard in terms of motivation.
Yeah.
And I'll tell this really quick, man, because I know we're heading up towards the end.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
But like when the Coast Guard goes out and is going to save a boat, so the helicopter comes out, you're out in the middle of the ocean, this boat is sinking. This happens all the time. Yeah. When they go out to try to rescue the folks that are now in the water, who do you think that they rescue first?
That's a tough question. The women and children.
No, that's not right.
No.
The first people that they rescue are the ones that start swimming towards them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So listen, man, if you're drowning and you're out there and you don't have answers and you just need someone to chat with, just to get things off your chest, to understand it, man, listen, I can't do it if I don't know you, right?
Yep.
I need you to feel, I mean, if you're feeling like you're drowning, I need you to start swimming, man. I need you to start swimming towards me, because I can't save you if you're not already trying to save yourself, right? So that's a really big piece to me, man. My mentor, Ryan Zink, told me that a while back, man, and it clicked. Like, we try to spend so much time with these people and try to reach out to them and try to pull them in. And then when we're not getting that in return, man, like, listen, I don't have the time. I've got guys that are sprinting to get to that life raft, right? And those are the guys that I want to lean into and be a part of, man. But if you're haphazardly looking at it, dude, your first step, your first stroke is just clicking the link, scheduling some time, and us chatting about it, man. I'm not going to put pressure on you to buy anything tomorrow, but just feel good about you're doing something, right? So that's my big deal, man. Attitude, effort. Yeah. And if you have those things, you'll go a long way in this world, for sure.
Dude, I love that story. I've never heard that one before, but I really like that a lot. I'm gonna have to tell Josh that one for sure.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one right there. Hey, so I want to introduce this basically for all the listeners out there. I am introducing a bit called Ask Chat GPT. So basically, I am just asking ChatGPT to give me some random situation where you have two choices, right? And then we're going to kind of go down this rabbit hole here and see what Ross would do. So Ross, you find yourself in a surreal, dreamlike room with 2 doors. Behind one door is a portal leading to a bustling city in Mars, filled with aliens and advanced technology. Behind the other door is a time-traveling hot air balloon that can take you to any era on Earth's history. So now you got to choose between an exhilarating unknown alien city on Mars or an exhilarating exploring the past of your home planet. Which door are you going to choose?
Dylan, this is, I don't know if you researched me at all before this. We've had some conversations. One, big Back to the Future fan, right? So like, I love time travel, whether it's into the future or back into the past, right? So it's like, okay, now it comes down to, do I like Back to the Future 2, which is the future, or do I like Back to the Future 3, which is the past?
There you go.
Gosh, listen, man, and listen, I'm a big, like, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan's podcasts because he has a lot of really interesting people on that talk about the past and like what is going on with the aliens in the future.
Yeah.
You know what? I am going to say, now wait, like, it was prerequisite, right? Like, or am I
got one chance.
Am I getting a vision of what? Am I spending some time, or am I just hot air balloon riding over the?
Oh no, you're going to be able to spend some time there. That's what I'm putting into this. Yeah, you can listen. You can.
I'm already scared to death of what's happening in the future, and I think that future is probably closer to us than we even realize at the moment as we think about AI. I mean, 20 years ago, we thought it was cool that we had a phone that disconnected from from the wall, right? I mean, like I think that kind of stuff, I'm going to see that soon enough. I don't know about the aliens, but apparently they may or may not exist. I don't know.
ChatGPT thinks they do.
So you know what? I'm going back, right? I'm going to go back and spend some time because I would really love to just see like the evolution of different things that happen. Because our human species is an amazing example. Like we're so much more advanced than we were a million years ago. And there's so many things that are happening in the space. Like, I want to go back. I don't know when I go back, right? Like I think maybe I'd go back, but I feel like I would go back and just understand. I'd love to go back and see my grandparents when they were young. I'd love to go back and just see, I think that kind of struggle that people had 200 years ago, we need to see that as a society right now, to be honest with you, because for those of you that don't know it, you live in the best country in the world, and this is the best time to be alive. And not every day may not feel like that. And I totally get that. But man, you need to go back and understand the struggles of those that came before you to really respect and appreciate where you are today. So yeah, man, I think I would go back just to get some peace of mind and come back to the present time and just be more grateful for the things that I have, man.
I love it, man. Ross is taking the hot air balloon back in time. I love it.
Listen, I don't love heights, and I have been on a hot air balloon ride, and I still get sweaty palms thinking about it. So, yeah.
Hey, Ross. So, as we jump off here, if someone liked what they heard, they like the way that you talk, about franchising, the process that you're going through, how you make sure your candidates are set up for success. What's the best way for them to reach out to you and get in contact with you?
Yeah, thanks, brother. You can always go to franchisesidekick.com. You can find my profile. My information is there to look me up. Look me up on LinkedIn at Ross Robertson. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Instagram, you can find me at Make Ross Will Make You a Boss. And you can find me on Facebook as well. So, hey, here to help you out. I hope you come out. Hope I can talk to you about Joshua Tree and some of the other wonderful brands that we have. But we're out there, man. We're all over LinkedIn. We're doing the right things for our clients. It's mission over commission. It's reducing risk, and it's living life on your terms.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, hey, Ross, thank you so much, brother, for jumping on here today. Thank you for being the inaugural first guest for the Franchise Happy Hour. I hope that you had a great time as much as I did. I definitely learned a lot as well. Any of those listeners out there, definitely reach out to Ross if you're looking for someone to really talk to about being an honest and responsible franchisee. So with that being said, thank you, good night, and cheers to franchise
Thank you, brother.
success.
Appreciate you, man.
Peace out.